Alright, Ian here. We got you in, give me a little assistance here. We're going to put her in the frog. So this is going to be a really good stretch for the groin, a lot of adductor stuff. We're going to try to get those knees as far away from each other as possible. We're still keeping our heels on the ground. As far as varying the stretch, we can totally bring our heels in and out. For right now, we're just going to focus on them being nice and straight like this. But just know that it is an option to have them in a little bit more. So what we're doing is obviously stretching out the groin, trying to introduce it to the floor, as Hunter Fitness would say. We want to try to maintain a little bit of an arch back in the beginning. So really arch the lower back. That's going to increase the stretch. From here, we're going to go through a PAILs contraction, which is going to be a 20-second contraction in the beginning. And how she's going to do that is she's actually going to sniff some air into her belly, get nice and tight in her abs, and then she's going to tension the inside of her thighs into the ground. So almost like she's trying to crush a watermelon or something in between your thighs. Every single second, we're building up that tension, so we're progressively loading those tissues, which the P stands for in PAILs. So as she's doing this, her knees are not really moving, they're just tensioning isometrically, super important. I don't want your knees to be moving in and out, I want you to stay here and contract. So say she got 15 seconds in, we got 5 seconds left, we're gonna go into our rails contraction. So in 5 seconds, 3, 2, 1, she's gonna pull her hips apart. She's not lifting her knees up. She's actively using everything on the outsides to pull your hips apart. You should feel a huge stretch increase on the inside. We're gonna hold that for 10 to 20 seconds, really ramping harder and harder. 5, 4, 3, 2. Now she's gonna stay here and breathe. Big deep breaths. So just worked really hard to get here. Okay? If we're working on training splits, say we're just working on getting our squat and our hips open, you want to be able to actively pull yourself there instead of just kind of hanging out and passively doing it. You'll notice that the first one convinced the nervous system that we're allowed to be here by contracting the tissues that we're stretching. Once the nervous system is convinced, we're going to go ahead and use those regressive tissues on the outside of the legs to actually pull ourselves deeper into them. The difference between active and passive is so important. If she can pull herself deeper into the stretch, then she's going to be able to get there tomorrow. If she just sinks into it, maybe with a slider or something and just hangs out, she's not going to be able to really get there tomorrow. So right now we're going to go into our next round. Sniff some air into her belly, get nice and tight. We're going to start driving into the ground, contracting the inside of those thighs every single second. Again, building tension. So think about turning up the volume every second. She's squeezing more and more and more. Eventually trying to build to 100 if you can, 100% being. So from there, 3, 2, 1, pull the hips apart, especially the butt. Everything on the outside of the legs is actually contracting and pull your hips apart. 5, 4, 3, 2. Again, she just worked real hard. Let's relax ourselves. Big deep breaths, exhaling everything out. Now that we're here, there's a couple of different options that we can do in between the stretches and in between the rounds that are going to kind of increase and kind of give us a little bit more variability, since that's really the name of the game. We're going to go ahead and do a spinal car. So she's going to go ahead and basically do cat-cow while she's here. So she's going to go ahead and arch her lower back as much as she can, and then she's going to slowly start to round her lower back as much as she can. So think about every single vertebrae, one by one by one, is slowly rounding all the way. This is going to really increase the stretch. Some of you guys are really not going to like this, but try to really go through it here and there. It's not something that has to be done. I'm just giving you a couple of different options. So as she rounds all the way, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, all the way up. And then once she maxes that out, she's going to slowly come all the way back down, thinking about each vertebrae one by one, like a wave is going through your spine, and she's going to get that chest all the way up as she arches, pulls the upper back up, and comes back to our start position. So that's one of the options that you can do in between to start to feel how we can dissociate the hips from the spine. We have this huge stretch on the hips, but how well does your spine move when you have that huge stretch on your hips? If you notice, if we were going to go ahead and straighten her feet out a little bit, she'd be in the bottom of a really deep squat with her knees out. And then how well does your spine actually work in that squat? So that would be a good way to kind of test that. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do some lift offs. Pretty brutal for internal rotation. So her left leg's not going to do anything, it's going to stay the same. She's going to go ahead and lift this heel up and hold 3, 2, 1, and she's going to slowly come back down. We're going to do the other side, lift that up, 3, 2, 1, then come down, do one more rep on this side. So think about what's really happening. We're internally rotating that hip and lifting and holding. 3, 2, 1, and then it's going to return all the way back out. So say she just spent a good minute on that last round, breathing into it, relaxing, making sure that she maintained her position. Now she's going to come up out of it, and that's how you're going to do the frog FRC style. Thank you.